You wake to the crackling of a dying campfire and the low whinny of your horse in the distance. The desert night is cold, but the horizon already glows with the first streaks of dawn. Dust clings to your boots, the smell of leather and smoke still heavy in the air. Somewhere out there, across the endless plains, another day of riding, roping, and survival awaits. Before we ride further into the Cowboy's world, I'd like to invite you to join this journey. If you'd love to hear more immersive stories from history and the forgotten past, make sure to subscribe to this channel so you never miss an adventure. And please, leave a comment to tell me where in the world you're listening from. It's always incredible to see friends from different corners of the globe gathering here around the same story. In the summer of 1872, in a frontier town along the dusty edge of New Mexico territory, newcomers were called tenderfoots. In those days, a clean shirt or polished boots were more dangerous than a drawn gun. It marked you as untested and therefore an easy target. Cowboys often dirtied their hats on purpose, believing dust was its own kind of protection. You step down from the stagecoach, and the first thing you feel is the weight of the sun. It presses against your neck, hot as a branding iron, baking through the collar of your spotless shirt. Dust swirls at your ankles, stirred by the hooves of horses and the shuffle of boots. The street is alive with sound. The rattle of wagon wheels, the caw of a crow perched on a half-rotted post, the slam of saloon doors that spill laughter and piano music into the open air. But beneath all of it is something quieter. A pause, a hitch, the sound of people noticing you. Your clothes give you away. The white of your shirt gleams like a flag against the red-brown dirt. Your boots, still shiny with polish, reflect the sun instead of swallowing it like everyone else's scuffed leather. Even your hat, straight-brimmed, stiff, uncreased, marks you as someone who has never fought a storm, never slept under rain, never ridden until the crown of it wilted against sweat. Two men lean against the saloon's porch. One spits tobacco juice into the dust, the dark stain blooming at his feet. He doesn't look away when you glance at him. Instead, his lips curl into a grin sharp as broken glass. "Look here," he mutters to his friend, just loud enough for you to hear. A tenderfoot. The word sticks to you like burrs. Tenderfoot. Further, down the street, a group of boys stop tossing pebbles at a stray dog and turn their attention to you. One winds up, throws. The stone clinks against your boot. Not hard enough to hurt, just enough to test. They burst into laughter, running off. You keep walking, your steps steady, though the back of your neck prickles with heat that isn't from the sun. You duck into the general store. The air inside is thick with tobacco smoke and the sweet, faint smell of molasses. Shelves sag under sacks of flour and tins of coffee. Behind the counter stands a man with a beard that could sand wood. He studies you without moving, his eyes narrowing the way a wolf sizes up a sheep. You place coins on the counter for jerky, a tin of beans, a box of cartridges. The sound of the metal against wood echoes too loudly in the silence. The storekeeper finally speaks, his voice a gravel scrape. "First time out here?" It isn't a question, it's a verdict. You try to steady your voice, offer a polite smile, but he's already sliding the cartridges back toward you. His hand is rough, calloused, stained from years of rope and dust. Dirt'll save you quicker than bullets. You leave with the jerky and beans, the cartridges still on the counter. The saloon doors slap shut as you pass, and laughter erupts behind you. You tell yourself it isn't about you, but you know better. That night, in the rented room above, the saloon, the walls thin enough to bleed piano chords and drunken voices, you stare into the cracked mirror. The man looking back wears the wrong skin, too neat, too bright. You strip off your shirt, kneel on the floorboards, and grind the cloth into the dust until the white turns the color of clay. You scuff your boots against the bedpost until the shine is gone. Slice a notch into your hat brim with your pocket knife. When you slip it back on, it feels heavier. Not just with dirt, but with a little bit of belonging. You lean back against the window frame, listening to the laughter below, the crack of dice cups, the growl of voices. Somewhere in that noise is the truth of this place. To survive, you must learn to vanish into the dust, to look like someone who has already lost. And as you blow out the lamp, letting darkness swallow the room, you finally understand the lesson of the frontier. Out here, you don't live by standing out, you live by blending in. By the autumn of 1872, only weeks after stepping into the frontier, you find yourself drifting between towns along the Santa Fe Trail. Abandoned way stations were common in these years. Small wooden posts meant to serve stagecoaches, now left to rot when railroads carved faster paths west. Travelers often left scratched names or carved notes on their walls, fragments of lives meant to outlast them. And in these lonely places, rumors spread faster than wind. A stranger's name could turn into a story long before the stranger himself arrived. The night is colder than you expect. You sit hunched in the shell of a way station, its roof half collapsed, its walls leaning like a drunkard, letting the prairie wind whistle through the cracks. Your horse, tethered nearby, shifts and snorts, hooves striking hollow against the floorboards that once carried stagecoaches. The fire you've built is small, barely enough to fight back the dark. Its smoke curls upward, disappearing through, the holes in the rafters like ghosts escaping. You chew a strip of jerky in silence, its salt stinging your cracked lips. The quiet presses in heavy, so loud you can hear your own heartbeat. The town you left behind is 20 miles back, the next, one even farther ahead. Out here, it feels as though the land itself has swallowed you whole. The walls carry old writing. At first, just scratches, initials carved with knives, dates burned into the wood. You run your fingers across them. J. Carson, 1870, died here. 1871, a crude drawing of a horse. Then lower down, you find a note written in charcoal. The letters smudged but legible. Heard the stranger with the clean hat. Headed south, name already spoken in town. You freeze. The words crawl under your skin, colder than the wind. Someone has written about you, not today, not yesterday, who knows when, but enough for you to understand. The story of your arrival, of your clean boots and nervous eyes, has already scattered ahead of you like dust in the wind. You step back from the wall, your stomach tight. For weeks you thought anonymity was your shield. But now, even your silence has a shape. Even your mistakes have an echo. Your horse nickers sharply, ears flicking. You move toward the door, peering into the dark. The prairie stretches endless, the horizon swallowed by night. Nothing moves but the grass bending to the wind. Still, your hand finds the revolver at your hip. The iron feels cold, heavy, grounding. You return to the fire, but sleep does not come easy. Every creak of timber, every gust through the cracks feels like a footstep. The silence grows teeth. You lie on your bedroll, the revolver close, your hat pulled low over your eyes. Hours pass. You drift between waking and dreams, caught in the half-light of memory. In one, you are back in the town, the laughter of strangers biting at your heels. In another, you stand faceless in a mirror, your own name spoken like a curse. Near dawn, you wake with a start. The fire has died to embers, red as dying eyes. You rise, shoulders stiff, and step outside. The prairie is silver with frost, stretching in every direction without end. Your horse stamps its hooves, impatient for the sun. You tighten the cinch, pat its flank, and mount. Behind you, the way station leans in silence. The wall with your name, whether true or mistaken, remains scratched in the dark. You leave it behind, but the weight rides with you. For the first time since crossing into the frontier, you realize something terrifying. You are no longer invisible. In the winter of 1872, frontier saloons were more than places to drink. They were courts, theaters, and sometimes cemeteries. Poker and faro ruled the tables, games so common that entire towns judged strangers by how they handled cards. Many players deliberately lost their first few hands, believing that winning too early painted a target as clearly as wearing a polished badge. And yet, to walk away with a little silver on your first night was a baptism of sorts, a gamble of luck and reputation rolled into one. The saloon smells of spilled whiskey and sweat, the air thick with cigar smoke that curls like phantom hands toward the ceiling. A piano bangs in the corner, out of tune but stubborn, the player's hat tilted low to hide eyes that never leave the crowd. Laughter, curses, the slap of boots on warped floorboards, it all folds into a restless hum. You push through the batwing, doors, the hinges creaking like a warning. For a moment, the room quiets. Not completely, just enough that you feel the weight of eyes grazing your back, measuring you. Then the sound swells again, and you step inside. Your boots scuff the floor, now properly dirtied from miles of trail. The brim of your hat droops low enough to cast shadow over your eyes. You look less like prey, more like someone who knows how to keep silent. Still, silence does not protect you here, not in a place where men measure each other by coin and cards. Versailles, table waits near the center. 5 men sit already, their faces carved from different kinds of stone. One with a mustache waxed sharp as a knife, another missing 2 fingers on his left hand, a third with the lazy grin of someone who always believes luck favors him. A mound of coins clinks in the lamplight. You take the empty chair. The felt beneath your fingers is worn smooth, sticky in spots from spilled ale. The dealer, a tall man with sleeves rolled, nods once without a word. Cards whisper as he shuffles, the sound like dry leaves in wind. At first, you play cautious. Fold, fold, fold again. The others glance at you, unimpressed. To them, you are the quiet one, the greenhorn without bite. That is what you want them to think. On the 4th hand, you stay in. 2 kings sit heavy in your palm, their painted eyes gleaming up at you. Your heart quickens, but you force your hand still. The others toss in coins, laughter rising like smoke. The man with the waxed mustache raises, sliding a silver piece across the table. You match him. The round unfolds like a dance, bets circling, the pot swelling. When the final card lands, you let the silence hang before you reveal your hand. 2 kings stare up from the wood, proud and unyielding. The laughter cuts sharp, then bursts louder. Someone whistles. Another slaps the table, cackling. Well, hell, one mutters. Tenderfoot's got teeth. Coins slide toward you, the weight of silver suddenly in your hands. You force yourself to grin, though your stomach knots. You wanted a win, but not one that shines so bright. The next hand, you fold quickly, deliberately. A man across the table leans back, eyeing you with something new. Not hostility, not yet, but recognition. The kind of recognition that clings. As the night drags, whiskey loosens tongues. Stories spill about cattle drives, shootouts, women long gone. Laughter grows rougher, louder. Your pile of coins swells, not great, but enough to draw notice. You laugh once, play dumb, shrug at losses. You pretend it is luck, nothing more. But luck is dangerous. At the edge of the table, a man who hasn't played all night tilts his chair back, boots crossed on another seat. His eyes never leave you. He isn't drunk. He hasn't touched the whiskey at his elbow. His smile is too thin. You feel it then, the shift. The room is still loud, still filled with smoke and laughter, but somewhere within it, a string has pulled tight. You pocket your winnings slowly, trying not to let your hand tremble. When you stand, the chair legs scrape the floor, loud as a gunshot. Heads turn. Some grin, some ignore. But a few, just a few, follow your steps with narrowed eyes. Outside, the night air slaps cool against your face, sharp with the smell of horse and dust. You breathe deep, your hand brushing the weight of silver in your pocket. For a moment, you almost laugh. You had survived your first game. But survival, you realize, is not always about walking out richer. Sometimes it is about what you leave. behind, and tonight you have left behind the memory of your face. In the spring of 1873, raiding parties often used riverbeds as hunting grounds. The Rio Pecos and its tributaries carved shallow gullies across the plains, dry by day but treacherous at night. Horses, more than men, sensed danger there, their nostrils catching the musk of sweat, their ears twitching before human eyes could pierce the dark. Frontier folk had a saying, "Trust your horse before you trust your gun." The night is moonless, the kind where the sky swallows every star and the earth feels like it has no horizon. You guide your horse along the dry riverbed, hooves crunching on gravel, the sound unnervingly loud against the hush of the prairie. The air smells of wet stone and sage crushed under hoof, but beneath it you catch something else, an acrid tang of sweat, too sharp, too human. Your horse halts, its ears prick forward, head tossing, breath flaring hot against the dark. You tighten your grip on the reins, whisper low, but the animal sidesteps, hooves scraping rock. A tremor runs through, its muscles. You freeze. The silence is too perfect. No crickets, no coyotes yipping in the distance. Only the soft sigh of wind threading through reeds. You shift in the saddle, eyes straining. The riverbed bends ahead, its shadows too deep, too still. A faint sound cuts through. The click of stone dislodged. Not yours, not your horse's. Someone, waiting. You slide from the saddle, boots sinking into sand. Your revolver is in your hand before you realize you've drawn it. The cold iron steadies you, but your breath betrays you, ragged in your throat. You press a palm against your horse's neck. The animal shivers but stands, ears flicking, nostrils wide. Then you hear it, whispered voices. One sharp, hushed curse, another muttering command, the scrape of leather against rock. They are close, maybe 3, maybe more, tucked in the bend of the river, hidden like scorpions waiting for bare feet. Your first thought is to fire, to shatter the silence. But then you remember the saloon, the way eyes followed you. To shoot first would confirm everything whispered about you. That you were reckless, dangerous, worth the bounty of a bullet. So you do nothing. You step backward, slow, every motion measured. Your horse follows, hooves barely disturbing the sand. Each second stretches thin, the night holding its breath with you. Then, a sharp whistle. Shadows erupt ahead. Figures surge from the bend, rifles glinting in the faint light. The crack of a shot splits the air, the bullet whining past your ear like a furious hornet. You stagger, duck, heart hammering against your ribs. Your horse bolts sideways, jerking the reins from your grasp. For one terrifying instant, you think it will abandon you, but instead, it wheels around, snorting, charging past you down the riverbed. The gunmen turn, their aim following the thunder of hooves. Shots spark, ricocheting off stone. Dust clouds rise, choking the air. You dive flat against the sand, the grit biting your lips. Another shot screams overhead. You press yourself lower, heart pounding so loud you fear it will give you away. Then silence again. Broken only by the fading drum of hooves, carrying your horse beyond the bend. The gunmen curse, voices tangling, footsteps scattering. You hear one shout, "Lost him!" Another spits. Their boots scrape rock as they retreat, convinced their prey fled with the animal. You remain still long after the last echo fades. Face pressed into sand, lungs burning. Only when the quiet stretches endless again do you lift your head. The riverbed lies empty. The night swallows their trail. Slowly, you rise, brushing grit from your cheek, your hands trembling. You find your horse 100 yards down, sides heaving, eyes rolling white in the dark. You press your forehead against its neck, feeling its sweat dampen your skin. The words of the old saying settle in your chest. Trust your horse before your gun. Tonight, the truth of it nearly saved your life. You mount again, body aching, ears straining for another ambush. But none comes. Only the prairie wind returns, soft and indifferent. As you ride on, every shadow feels deeper, every silence sharper. You understand now that in this land, survival is not about being loud, nor about being strong. It is about being unseen. For the first time, you feel the pull of a new identity forming. Not the man with the clean shirt, not the fool at the poker table, but the shadow who moves quiet enough to be forgotten. And you realize, with a shiver, that being forgotten may be the only way to stay alive. A discarded coin mold doesn't look like much, just a lump of iron, scarred and rusted. But in the silver rush of the American West, molds were more dangerous than revolvers. They meant counterfeiting, broken economies, and gangs who killed to protect their secret workshops. Many such molds were abandoned in collapsed tunnels, waiting like relics of violence buried in the dark. You duck beneath the splintered beams at the mine's entrance, lantern raised high. The flame sputters in the draft, throwing nervous shadows across the jagged walls. The deeper you step, the colder the air grows. Thick, metallic, carrying the faint odor of gunpowder long burned away. The silence here isn't natural. It feels weighted, as though every rock and timber is holding its breath. Your boots crunch over fallen rubble, echoing down passages that seem to twist forever. The sound makes your chest tighten. It's too loud, too alive, as if the mind doesn't want you here. A single drip of water falls from above and you nearly flinch. It sounds like a pistol click in the quiet. Then you see it. A misshapen block of iron, half buried in dust. You kneel, brushing it clean, and the lantern light reveals a crude impression stamped into the surface. The outline of a coin. A mold. For a long moment, you can't breathe. Because as you touch the rusted edges, it isn't just cold metal beneath your hand. It's memory. A blur crashes into your mind. Men crowding around a furnace, their faces lit orange by fire. You see molten silver streaming like liquid stars into rows of molds. You smell sweat, smoke, and fear. And you hear them. Rough voices, a chorus of laughter sharp enough to cut. The sound doesn't come from the past. It's in the mind now. Your lantern flickers. Shadows leap across the wall. Shadows that don't belong to you. A figure leaning against a post. Another crouched as if feeding the fire. You whirl, but the tunnel is empty. Empty, except for the mold in your hand and the thundering in your chest. The worst part isn't the vision. It's the familiarity. The voices that echo in your head feel like old companions, men whose names you almost remember. A hand slamming a sack of coins on a table. A fist gripping your collar, pulling you into the dark. A gunshot muffled by stone. The mine is reminding you of something you swore you'd forgotten. You stagger back, lantern shaking. For an instant, you see yourself not as a drifter walking into town with new boots and a clean hat, but as one of them, an outlaw carving coins from stolen silver, laughing while the law searched in vain. Maybe you left them. Maybe you betrayed them. Or maybe you are nothing more than the echo of a man who lived here once and died with his secret. The lantern flame flares, then steadies. The shadows retreat. The mold lies heavy in your palm, proof of a past too dangerous to remember, too heavy to carry. You let it fall. The clang echoes through the mine like a shot, bouncing off the stone, mocking you. And as the sound dies away, you realize the truth. The mine has remembered you, even if you haven't. In the American frontier, fire was never just warmth. It was a weapon, a warning, and a language all its own. Bandits would use lanterns and campfires as signals. One flame meant wait, 2 meant the cargo has arrived, 3 meant danger, do not approach. In towns built from resin-soaked timber, even a single misplaced spark could turn the night into an inferno. Fire in the west could comfort, or it could kill. You step out of the abandoned mine, lantern still trembling in your hand, when the night air swallows you whole. The cold clings like a wet shroud, and behind you, The mountain exhales dust and rust as if it's glad to be rid of you. Dust Eater paws the ground, restless. His ears flick once, twice. A warning, and then you see it. A flame. A lonely lantern burns bright in the open. Its glass cover removed, so the flame shoots upward, naked and sharp against the darkness. A second fire answers, set lower, redder, tucked behind a fallen log. 2 flames. The meaning is clear. Someone is waiting. Not just for anyone, but for you. Your stomach sinks, because you know the old codes. They're bandit codes, outlaw codes, codes you swore you'd buried with your past. Yet here they are, shining in the grass like 2 unblinking eyes. You guide Dust Eater down into the dry riverbed, keeping to the shadowed side. The sand muffles your boots, but when you kneel and run your hand through it, you smell something foul. Burnt oil. Someone scorched something here, and then stamped it out, covering their tracks. Except you can still taste the ash on your tongue. Then, the boy appears. He's bound, wrists tied behind him, cloth gag pressed between his teeth. Firelight drips across his narrow face, making his eyes enormous. He's shivering, not from cold, but from the sharp tremors of terror. You recognize him, the stable hand from town. He brushed down Dust Eater once, asked shyly if your boots came from the east. You never answered him. You never even gave him your name. Now, someone else has. Evening, quiet. The voice comes from beyond the fire, smooth as leather dragged over stone. You don't need to see the man to know him. Raven Harlow. They called him Crow for his sharp nose, his habit of watching from rafters, and his laugh that always came half a beat too late. You hear boots crunch on dry twigs. 2 shadows detach themselves from the dark. One tall and thin, shoulders sharp enough to cut the firelight. The other stockier, hand brushing the handle of his revolver like it's a favorite dog. They circle into the glow, and the fire paints them younger than you remember. Or maybe it's just you who's older. Quiet. They keep using that name, the name you thought you left in the dust with your last gang job. The quiet man. The one who spoke little, hid much, and always walked in the shadow of firelight. You'd hoped the silence would kill the name. Turns out silence keeps things alive. Let the boy go. Your voice cuts the night thin. Crow chuckles and nudges a stick into the flames. Sparks scatter like fireflies, briefly lighting his hollow eyes. Always straight to the mercy act, eh? You remember the rules, Quiet. First we talk business, then we talk favors. He points at the second flame. 2 fires. You know what that means. Cargo. You didn't bring it. So instead, we took collateral, the boy whimpers. The gag muffles it, but the sound sinks straight into your chest. Cargo's not with me, you say. Your hand dips into your pocket, feeling the cold outline of the silver blank you found in the mine. A relic, nothing more. Yet it burns your palm with memory. Then we talk feelings, the tall man interrupts. His grin doesn't show teeth. You walked out on us. Now you walk back in, same as before. One man's blood, one man's loyalty. That's the price. The stocky one tilts his gun against the boy's shoulder. We don't kill children. That's not our style. We just need you back where you belong. Which hand? You ask. Your voice surprises you. Calm, flat. But inside, your ribs feel like a cage rattled by wind. Crow's eyes gleam. He knows exactly what you mean. Which hand will you give them back? The hand that lit fuses, that poured molten silver into molds, that fired the first shot. The hand that made you one of them. Doesn't matter, he says softly. So long as it's steady. The boy shakes, harder, the firelight swimming across his pale cheeks. You notice something at his feet, a charred fuse end, half hidden in ash. An old trick, a leftover signal. The smell of turpentine rides the wind. These men came prepared to burn more than wood tonight. 10 steps, you say. Your voice feels like gravel, forced through. I take the boy 10 steps. After that, he's gone. You want to drag me back? You do it. But he walks free. The tall man laughs. 10 steps. You think we're counting? I'm not talking to you. You tilt your head at the fire. I'm talking to the flame. They watch you. For a moment, only the crackle of wood fills the silence. Then Crow lifts his hand. The gun lowers from the boy's shoulder. 10 steps, he agrees. But make them count quiet. We'll be listening to everyone. You move. Step 1. Your boot crunches down hard on a twig, masking the boy's stumble. Step 2. You edge your shoulder against his, nudging him just out of the flame's heart, pushing his shadow across yours. Step 3. Smoke threads between you, sharp in your throat, sharp in theirs. Step 4. Crow coughs once. He's waiting. Step 5. The tall man lifts his gun, then lowers it again, uncertain. Step 6. The wind gusts, pushing the flame sideways, scattering sparks across the sand. For a moment, your shadows stretch twice as tall, monstrous, unfamiliar. Step 7. Your hand closes around the silver blank in your palm, cold, anchoring. Step 8. You whisper, "Listen." The boy stiffens, then nods, tiny, terrified. Step 9. You brush his ankle with your toe, a signal. When it hurts, pull. Free. Step 10. You stop. Enough, Crow calls. His voice is cold again. The fire dances in his pupils. Now quiet. Reach back. Your right hand rises, palm down, open to the flame. The scar along your thumb catches the light. A white thread against your skin. You feel every eye on you. The boy's wrists tremble. You know he's testing the knot, digging against the fuse stub you slipped into the rope. Pain will sharpen him. Pain will teach him. I'll give you my hand once, you say, steady, your voice dropping into the riverbed silence. But not the way I did before. I know your fires, your signals, your rules. I'll lead you past the town if I have to. But the boy goes free. He returns to the stables. He says nothing, and who vouches for that? The tall man sneers. I do. You let the silver blank slide between your fingers, a coin toss without a flip. It gleams briefly, then vanishes back into your palm. A reminder, a threat, a promise. For a moment, no one moves. The fire crackles, waiting to see who it belongs to. Frontier horsemen trusted their mounts more than their own senses. Horses could hear a rattlesnake before it struck, smell a campfire long before its smoke touched, human nostrils, and feel the tremor of boots in the dirt even when riders slept. In diaries from the 1860s, cowboys swore their animals saved them from ambushes, ears twitching, nostrils flaring, refusing to move forward where men saw only empty darkness. To ignore a horse's warning was to invite death on the trail. The cow. Riverbed is silent now, save for the restless shift of Dust Eater's hooves against the sand. You crouch, one hand pressed flat to the ground, the other tight around the boy's arm. His breathing is ragged, desperate, but quiet. Quieter than you would have expected for someone his age. Perhaps terror teaches silence quicker than any schoolhouse ever could. Above you, the sky spreads out like a torn canvas, thick with stars. Yet the darkness between those stars feels heavier tonight, weighted with something you can't name. It's Dust Eater who gives it a name first. His ears snap backward, then forward, twitching like compass needles caught in a storm. His nostrils flare, catching a scent you can't. He takes 2 steps to the side, nearly dragging you with him, then plants himself firmly, neck arched, eyes wide. He's seen, or felt, something. You freeze. The boy looks at you, eyes wide, gag still damp, against his lips. You raise one finger to your mouth. He nods, trembling, but obeys. Then you hear it. Not voices, not the creak of boots or the jingle of spurs. No, something quieter. A soft scrape of stone against stone. Deliberate. Patient, like someone shifting, their weight against a rock ledge, trying to stay invisible. Your hand drifts to your revolver. The steel is cold, heavier than it has ever felt. You don't draw, not yet. You remember the old lessons. Bandits favored dry riverbeds like this. Too easy to funnel prey into a dead zone, to strike from both sides at once. The smart way out wasn't to fight. It was to vanish before they knew you'd heard them. But the boy, he shifts, rope rasping faintly against his wrists. The sound is tiny, but in the hollowed silence, it cracks like thunder. Dust Eater tosses his head, a sharp snort bursting from his nose. That's when it happens. A shadow peels itself off the rocks above. Just a flicker at first, a blur darker than the night. Then another, then two more. The first carries a rifle, its barrel glinting silver where the moon catches it. The others spread, silent, the way hunters fan out around wounded prey. You're surrounded. The boy sees it too. His body jerks against yours, panic threatening to spill into a scream. You clamp your hand over his mouth just in time, feeling his heart hammering through his ribs like a trapped bird. Stay quiet, you whisper, so low you're not sure if he hears. The silence stretches. Shadows advance. Every second feels carved, out of stone, sharp enough to cut. Your mind races. 3 shadows above. One on the far bank, maybe more hidden where you can't see. A perfect choke point. They know the rules of the riverbed better than you ever will. Dust Eater shifts again. His body lowers, muscles quivering, ready to bolt. His instinct screams to run, to flee into the night before the jaws close fully. You almost listen, but then you catch the boy's eyes again, wide, shining with firelight and fear. He wouldn't survive 2 steps without you. Running would mean leaving him behind, a lamb among wolves. So you breathe, slow, measured, and for the first time tonight, you make yourself as small as possible. The trick to surviving an ambush isn't always the gun. It's being the one they don't notice until it's too late. A shadow quieter than their own shadows. You press the boy down, low into the sand. You lie beside him, arm over his shoulders, covering him as though your body might blur his outline. The sand is cold against your cheek, damp where the river once flowed. The scrape of stone again, louder now. The men are closer. One of them whispers. Just a word. You don't catch it, but the boy stiffens, recognizing the voice. His breath turns hot and sharp against your palm. Whoever they are, they know him. You shut your eyes briefly. The past clings like smoke. You can never wash it off. The boy is caught in it now, tangled because of you. Guilt twists hard in your chest, sharper than any blade. Then, without warning, a rock shifts under the nearest shadow's boot. A clatter, small but real. Dust Eater reacts instantly, ears pinned, hooves pounding the sand. He screams, a sound half hoarse, half war cry, exploding into the night. The ambushers freeze. One curses under his breath. Another fumbles, rifle slipping against stone. It's the gap you needed. Run, you hiss. Not to the boy, his legs are bound. To Dust Eater. Your horse surges forward, sand spraying in an arc as he barrels down the riverbed. He doesn't go far, just enough to throw dust, kick stones, drag their eyes and their rifles away from where you lie hidden. The boy whimpers again, but this time it's not terror, it's shock at the sudden violence. You grip his arm tighter. Still, be the dust, be the shadow. Shots crack, echoing like thunderclaps in the canyon walls. Sparks flare where bullets ricochet against stone. But the horse knows the dance better than any man. He darts, twists, vanishes into a fold of night, as though the dark itself opened a door for him. The shooters curse louder now, shouting to each other, scrambling across the rocks. Their trap is broken, the silence shattered, and in that chaos, you rise. The boy stares at you, eyes wide, as you haul him upright with one arm and drag him toward the black edge of the riverbed. Your legs burn, lungs sear. but you move. Each step is a prayer to the dirt, begging it not to echo too loud, not to betray you to the men still fumbling with their rifles. A bullet winds past your ear, so close you feel the heat of it. You duck, shoving the boy down into the sand again, covering him with your body. His heartbeat hammers like a drum, frantic but alive. Alive. For now. You whisper into the dark, voice ragged but steady. Quiet, boy. Quiet. Tonight, silence will save us. Both. In the American West, abandoned silver mines were more dangerous than active ones. Timber supports rotted, ceilings collapsed without warning, and pockets of methane gas turned a single spark into an inferno. Prospectors often left behind crates of blasting powder or half-used fuses, hidden like sleeping serpents in the dark. Entire towns vanished overnight from mine explosions, leaving behind nothing but scorched earth and twisted legends. To walk into such a place with fire in your hand was to gamble with your life, and with history itself. The mine yawns before you like the open mouth of some beast, its breath thick with dust and the faint tang of sulfur. The boy lingers behind, clutching the revolver you pressed into his trembling hands. His knuckles are pale, but his grip is steady. You told him once, a gun is only as strong as the hand that dares to use it. He hasn't forgotten. You step inside. The dark swallows you whole, broken only by the flicker of your lantern. Shadows crawl across broken beams and rusted rails, painting the mine's ribs in jagged light. Every creak above feels like a threat. Every grain of falling dust feels like a warning. But you keep walking, deeper, until you reach the chamber where the gang once worked their craft. It's all still here. The molds, the scorched crucibles, the half-melted silver blanks scattered across the dirt. Ghosts of a past you tried to bury, and there, stacked against the wall like coffins, the crates of powder, black, dry, hungry. Enough to bring the mountain down. Your jaw tightens. You remember the nights you stood here, shoulder to shoulder with men who called you brother, pouring molten silver into molds, laughing as smoke choked your lungs. You were part of it. You helped build the myth. The quiet ones. A gang that spoke little but left towns in silence after they passed. And now those same men hunt you. Hunt the boy. You run your hand across the rough wood of the powder crates. Splinters bite into your palm, sharp and real. The anger surges hot and raw. They want you back. They want their old, quiet man. But you're done being a shadow. Tonight, you'll burn the shadow itself. Behind you, the boy whispers, voice thin as smoke. Are we leaving it? No. Your answer is iron. We're ending it. You kneel, pulling the fuse coil from your pack. The rope smells of tar and saltpeter, thick and bitter. You unwind it slowly, each loop a heartbeat, each heartbeat a promise. The boy swallows hard, watching. His eyes are too wide, too young to see this, but he must. He must understand why silence sometimes isn't survival. It's surrender. You set the fuse, careful, deliberate. Your fingers do not shake. A noise cuts through the dark. Bootsteps, echoing against stone. Voices, low, mocking. They've followed. You thought you'd crawl back here, one calls, laughter bouncing off the walls, like a dog to its den. The boy tenses. His finger brushes the trigger. You motion him back, slow, calm. You want his shot to be his choice, not his panic. The lantern flickers. Shadows stretch long as the gang enters the chamber. Crow is first, eyes glinting like polished coal. The tall one flanks him, rifle lazy against his shoulder. The stocky one smirks, chewing on a matchstick as if daring the mind to swallow him whole. Quiet, Crow says, savoring the word. You can't outrun what you are. You glance at the crates, at the fuse waiting for fire, at the boy behind. You, clutching the revolver like it's the last piece of hope in the world. I'm not running, you say. Your hand dips, strikes the match. Flame flares, small and furious. You lower it to the fuse. The rope hisses to life, eating itself, in a line of sparks. For a heartbeat, silence, then chaos. The stocky one curses, lunging forward. The tall one raises his rifle, shouting. Crow's face twists, not in fear but in rage, pure betrayal, carved deep. The boy stumbles back, eyes wild as the sparks race, across the ground. You grab his arm, dragging him toward the exit. Dust rains from the ceiling as the gang fires, bullets whining, ricocheting against stone. The mine groans like a wounded animal. The fuse spits fire. Closer, closer. You shove the boy forward. Run! He runs. He doesn't look back. The tunnel shakes, timbers snapping like brittle bones. You sprint, boots pounding the earth, lungs tearing for air. Behind you, the gang's shouts turn to roars, then to screams as the fuse disappears, into the crates, and then light. A sun is born underground. The explosion tears the mountain's heart open. Fire and rock leap skyward, a storm of fury and ash. The ground heaves beneath you, flinging you forward. The blast wave slams into your back, hot and merciless, hurling you into the dust. Silence follows, not the silence of the quiet ones, not the silence of fear. A silence forged in fire, heavy and absolute. You cough, drag yourself up. The boy kneels beside you, face smeared with soot, revolver still clutched tight. His hands shake, but his eyes burn, not with terror, but with something harder, something you've seen in mirrors. You look back. Where the mine stood is nothing, but a collapsed moor, vomiting smoke into the night sky. The legend of the quiet ones lies buried beneath it, smothered by the fire you set. You spit dust, blood metallic on your tongue. The anger in you has quieted, not cooled, but burned itself clean. The boy whispers, hoarse. You destroyed it. You nod once. No more shadows. The mountain groans, settling into ruin. And for the first time in years, you feel lighter. Dawn in the frontier was not quiet. Coyotes yipped their last calls before slinking back to their dens. Owls surrendered their watch to crows. And the cold of night clung stubbornly to the earth until sunlight pried it away. Travelers often chose dawn to begin their journeys, for it was the only hour when the land felt both empty and forgiving, the shadows long but no longer threatening. Diaries of pioneers often describe dawn as the hour when you believe again that distance can be crossed. The first light brushes, the horizon, soft as a fingertip tracing the edge of the world. You pull yourself into the saddle, your ribs still aching from the mine's fury. Dust clings to your coat, blackened patches marking you like old scars. Behind you, smoke still rises from the mountain's wound, curling skyward in ribbons that the wind soon tears apart. The past is crumbling in that direction. You do not look back. Dust Eater shifts under you, eager but steady, his breath steaming in the chill morning air. Beside him, the boy sits awkwardly on a smaller horse borrowed from the ruins of the gang's camp. His posture is clumsy, but his grip on the reins is firm. He hasn't slept. Neither of you have. But there's a new weight in his eyes, the kind that comes only after seeing the world burn and realizing you still stand in it. The prairie stretches ahead, wide and endless. The earth is damp with dew, each blade of grass tipped with light. Somewhere, far off, a hawk screams into the morning, a sound fierce and promising. The world feels new, as though the night's violence never happened. But your body remembers. You guide Dust Eater forward, slow at first, then faster. The boy follows, his horse trotting unevenly, trying to keep pace. The rhythm of hooves on packed earth becomes a heartbeat, steady, alive, forward. For a long time, neither of you speak. The silence is not the heavy silence of fear or guilt. It is lighter, like a cloak shed after a long winter. Eventually, the boy breaks it. His voice cracks, but not from terror. They'll come after us, won't they? You glance at him, the rising sun catching the soot still smeared across his cheek. Not those men, you say. Not anymore. He nods, though doubt lingers in his eyes. The boy has learned too quickly that the world never runs out of hunters. But he also sees what lies behind your words, that some shadows can be ended if you're willing to bury them in fire. Hours pass. The sun climbs, burning the chill from your bones. The prairie opens wider, the horizon stretching into infinity. Each mile you ride puts another layer of distance between you and the ashes. Yet no matter how far you go, the memory follows. Faces, lit by lantern glow, the hiss of a fuse, the thunder of a mountain collapsing. You know it will follow you for the rest of your life. But maybe that's all right. The boy grows tired, his shoulders slump, eyelids heavy. You slow the pace, letting him rest in the saddle. For a moment, you see not the survivor of a night's terror, but just a child. Thin arms, two big boots. A boy who should be in a schoolhouse instead of clutching. A revolver with hands that shake even in sleep. Your chest tightens. You were his age once. No one saved you then. Perhaps this is your penance. Or perhaps it is your chance to change what the world expects of men like you. At midday, you stop by a creek. The water runs clear, cold as melted glass. You drink, splash, your face. Let the boy collapse in the grass. Dusty lowers his head to drink, his muscles rippling with life. You watch them both, and for the first time in years, you feel something other than anger or survival. You feel release. You take the revolver from your belt, heavy as judgment, and set it down on a rock. The boy stirs, watching you. You're not keeping it, he asks, voice groggy. You shake your head. Not today, he frowns. But what? If trouble finds us, you'll have your chance. You pause, then add quietly, but if it doesn't, maybe it's better to live a day without steel in your hand. He says nothing, just stares at the revolver, then at you. Slowly, his small hand reaches out and pushes it back toward you. You should keep it, he says, his voice steadier now, but only until I'm ready. The words strike you harder than any bullet, not because of their weight, but because of their hope. You nod once, slide the revolver back into its holster. For now. The sun tilts west, shadows stretching long again. You mount up, the boy climbing stiffly into his saddle. Together, you ride once more, the prairie wind cool on your face. Ahead, the land opens into promise. Behind, the mountain smolders, but its voice grows faint. As dusk begins to paint the sky in gold and crimson, you reach into your coat pocket and draw out a single silver coin, blackened from the explosion, scarred with cracks, but whole. You study it for a long moment before flicking it into the dust at your horse's feet. It lands with a dull thud, sinking halfway into the soil. The boy watches, puzzled. Why leave? It, he asks. You smile faintly, though it aches to do so. Because some names aren't worth carrying. The coin gleams briefly in the fading light, then disappears beneath Dust Eater's next step. Covered by dust, forgotten by all but you. And so you ride into the night, the boy at your side, the road long but yours at last. Not as a shadow, not as a legend, just as a man moving forward, 1 mile at a time. Legends of the West rarely end with gunfire. Most dissolve quietly, swallowed by dust and distance, leaving behind little more than whispers and tracks that vanish with the wind. You ride into the horizon with no banner, no name, only the steady rhythm of hooves and the boy's quiet breathing. Beside you, the town behind has already forgotten your face. The mine has buried your past, and the silver coin lies hidden beneath the earth where even memory struggles to reach. The land stretches wide and empty, but for the first time, emptiness feels like freedom. The boy glances at you, waiting for answers you may never give. You tip your hat lower against the sun and keep riding. No one will remember the quiet ones. No one will remember the outlaw you once were. They will only remember the dust, the coin-sized, hollow in the earth, and the story of two riders who chose the road instead of the shadows. And that, you decide, is enough.